As the years passed, Chioma found herself increasingly surrounded by a tidal wave of societal expectations. The world around her buzzed with conversations about marriage, family, and stability, while her own life felt like an unending series of questions and judgments. It seemed that every gathering, whether family or social, became a reminder of her single status, and Chioma was growing weary of the probing stares and well-meaning inquiries. At family events, her relatives would often crowd around her with cheerful smiles and probing questions. "Chioma, when are we going to hear the good news?" her Aunt Ife would ask, nudging her with a knowing smile, as if she held the key to Chioma's happiness. "Don't let your career overshadow your chances at love." Chioma would respond with a polite smile, masking the growing frustration inside her. "I'm focusing on my career right now, Aunt Ife. I'm sure love will come when the time is right." But deep down, the words felt hollow. She didn't want to disappoint her family, who had always believed in her potential to succeed both in her career and in love. Outside the family sphere, her friends were also settling down. Group chats filled with wedding invitations, baby shower announcements, and photos of happy couples. Chioma would scroll through her social media feed, each post a reminder of what she was missing. Her friends, once supportive companions in the pursuit of success, had become a source of envy and heartache. She felt like an outsider, watching as they built lives and families while she remained stuck in a loop of unfulfilled dreams. One evening, after receiving yet another wedding invitation from her college roommate, Chioma met her friend Funmi for dinner. As they sat in a cozy restaurant filled with laughter and chatter, Funmi couldn't help but bring up the topic that had become all too familiar. "Chioma, you need to start thinking about settling down. You're almost 30. What are you waiting for?" Funmi's tone was light, but Chioma could sense the underlying urgency. "I'm just trying to focus on my career right now," Chioma replied, forcing a smile as she stirred her drink, avoiding eye contact. "I don't want to rush into anything. Come on, you can't put your life on hold. You need someone to share all your successes with. It's not just about work, you know." Chioma felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The conversation was familiar, echoing the sentiments of her family and other friends. "I know, Funmi. She hesitated, searching for the right words. "I don't want to settle for someone just because society says I should be married by now. I want it to be real." Funmi nodded but continued, "But what if you miss your chance? There are so many great guys out there, and you're not getting any younger." Chioma felt her heart race, the familiar pang of insecurity creeping in. She pushed her plate away, suddenly losing her appetite. "I just wish people would stop asking me about it," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Funmi's expression softened. "I'm just looking out for you, Chioma. But I get it. It's a lot of pressure." They changed the subject, but Chioma couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy. Each comment about her relationship status felt like a public humiliation, a spotlight shining on her perceived failures. As the weeks turned into months, Chioma's frustration grew. She began to dread social gatherings, knowing the questions and judgments that awaited her. Even casual outings with friends turned into opportunities for unsolicited advice. "Have you tried dating apps?" one friend suggested. "You should go out more. You need to meet new people," another chimed in. But the pressure didn't stop with her friends. Chioma's parents were becoming increasingly anxious. Her mother would call, her voice laced with concern, "Chioma, have you thought about joining a church group or a club? You need to put yourself out there more." Chioma tried to explain that she was not just sitting idly by, but her parents couldn't see the effort she was putting into her career. "I promise I'm doing everything I can," she insisted during one phone call, frustration creeping into her voice. But it feels like I'm being judged for not being married. You're our first daughter. We want what's best for you. It's time you started thinking about settling down, her father replied gently, though his words felt like a weight on her shoulders. As Chioma returned to her apartment after those calls, she often found herself questioning her worth. Was she not good enough because she was single? The thought echoed in her mind, gnawing at her self-esteem. She felt as if she were living in a world that only valued women based on their marital status, and it was suffocating. One Saturday afternoon, Chioma met up with a group of friends for brunch. They laughed and shared stories, but the conversation inevitably turned toward love lives. Did you hear about Abimbala? One friend said. She got engaged last week. It's so romantic. I can't wait for the wedding. Chioma forced a smile, but inside, she felt a mix of happiness for her friend and deep sadness for herself. The conversation shifted from Abimbala's engagement to more wedding plans, and Chioma could feel the stares of her friends shifting toward her, the awkward silence settling in. What about you, Chioma? Someone finally asked, breaking the tension. Any prospects on the horizon? With everyone looking at her expectantly, Chioma's heart raced. Not really. Just focusing on work, she replied, her voice lacking its usual conviction. Don't you think you should be looking, though? Time is ticking, another friend said with a teasing smile. Chioma felt her cheeks flush, and she could feel the weight of judgment in the air. I'm sure it will happen when it's meant to, she said, but her voice sounded more like a plea than a declaration. The laughter resumed around her, but she felt detached, a spectator in her own life. That evening, Chioma sat in her apartment, feeling overwhelmed by the pressure from every side. She opened her laptop, scrolling through social media, where happy couples posted pictures of their engagements and weddings. The loneliness enveloped her like a heavy blanket, and tears filled her eyes. Why can't I have that? She whispered into the silence, her heart aching. In the quiet of her room, Chioma realized that she had to make a choice. She could either let the pressure consume her or take a stand for herself. The following week, she decided to attend a workshop on self-empowerment, hoping to regain some confidence and clarity in her life. The experience was enlightening, filled with discussions about self-worth and resilience. For the first time in a while, Chioma felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. As she left the workshop, she resolved to stop measuring her worth against the expectations of others. She would focus on her career and personal growth, allowing love to come into her life when it was meant to, instead of chasing it out of desperation. With renewed determination, Chioma embraced her single status. She found strength in her independence and reminded herself that her journey was uniquely hers. Love would come in time, and until then, she would continue to build a life that she was proud of.